We're going to learn about a still life. You will see different compositions of pumpkins and gourds that are arranged next to each other. These are all examples of a still life. Thinking back to the organic shapes that we've talked about, look at the shape of the pumpkin and decide what organic shape would best match that pumpkin. Look at the size and then cut that shape. So to start, look at the composition. That's the arrangement of the pumpkins and the gourd. And look at where they're placed. Which one is in front, which one is in back. Look at the background and the foreground of the cloth, the shape. How big is it? How small is it? Where is it located on the paper? Just pay attention to all these shapes. And then you'll be ready to cut. Let's look at this composition. I have the background paper, the brown and the orange, and then the green gourd is pretty big. And then the yellowy orange gourd is really smaller than the green one. And then the little one that's kind of flowery shaped gourd, it is the smallest and it'll go in front. And they overlap. And then that creates a composition. Okay, so here's the background paper. It overlaps as well. And notice it has a division spot where the cloth and the background are. And then I'm starting with the bigger gourd. And I'm using kind of a dark color. And I'm going to cut that organic shape out. This composition is a little bit of a different arrangement. And so the paper is smaller. So in the foreground, the paper is a little bit shorter and it has a taller background. So I take the blue color and I'm going to cut sort of an organic shape oval, meaning I'm not going to make it perfectly smooth on the edges. I'm just going to cut. It's okay if it's not perfect, because as you have seen when you went out to pick out your pumpkin or saw them in the store, they are not just perfectly cookie cutter in shape. They are what you call organic. So I'm cutting the shape and I'm going to place it on its side. And notice where the stem is. So I'm going to trim it just a little bit more because it's a little big. It's easier to trim it down. You can't add on, so it's better to go big and cut small. And let's look at the stem. I love the stems of the pumpkins and gourds. And I'm going to pick another color. And it's kind of rounded at the bottom. And it too is organic. And goes out in a rectangle kind of shape. The next pumpkin gourd is orange, and so I have a smaller piece and it is more circular, but again I'm going to cut it in a more organic kind of circle, meaning it won't be just like a little perfect circle, but it's kind of circular in its shape. And so I'm just cutting it out, and it should be smaller than the first one, than the blue one. So you'll have to place it down and check it out. And it's smaller. And so again, you can look at its stem, and it has a totally different shape in its stem. And now for the last gourd. It's a smaller one. It's the smallest, and it's going to be up in the front, kind of to the left of the orange gourd. And it's kind of unique in that it's two colors. It's a light and a dark. And that lighter color is kind of like a flower shape. And so I'm cutting the paper in this organic shape that has different parts on it, almost like petals, cutting it around. And then I'm going to place a darker color underneath that lighter shape, so that I have like the top of the gourd is the light color and the bottom of the gourd is going to be the darker color. And again, it's going to be placed in the front of the orange gourd. And that overlapping is what we're trying to show space on the page by overlapping the shapes. So here again are the other two ideas that I showed you as we do the basic first parts of our organic still life, and we're going to add some details to it next week. So get the shapes cut and glued onto your paper in an arrangement showing overlapping and creating a still life.